Welcome to our program today, and our guests are Dr. Don Clemens, who is president of Paducah Community College, and Mr. Allie Morgan, who is cable consultant for the city of Paducah, and Mr. Ed Mount, who is vice president of Comcast Cable Incorporated of Paducah. And we're going to be talking about the past 10 years of access television in Paducah, and perhaps a little bit about the future of access television in Paducah. So to start off with, Ed, since Comcast owns the wires and put in the system, 10 years ago, how did we get started into access from your perspective, from your memory?
Well, of course, our franchise agreement with the city specified that we would provide a community access channel, otherwise known as a public access channel. And so when we first began building the system, we started looking around for some possibilities of studios, exactly what kind of public access programming facilities we would be able to provide. And in quite a few conversations with Allie here, we thought it would be a better idea if we could place the facilities off of the cable operator's premises. We felt that it would be more successful and have a better opportunity to entice the public to participate. And Allie, really have to give Allie the credit. He's the one that came up with the idea of Paducah Community College. And he did most of the advanced footwork and talking with Dr. Clemens at length and talking with us back and forth. And through that, we came to an agreement whereby the Paducah Community College would provide the access programming for us, and we would fund, and we, in the beginning, we furnished some equipment to get it kicked off, and that's how it began.
Allie, I know that you've always been an access advocate and have been very active in cable communications for a long time. Where did you come up with the idea of getting PCC interested and the cable company interested into this rather unique merger to provide access?
Well, I suppose, Bob, it probably came from the experience that I'd had with educational television over the years, starting with Patty through KET and all of that. I saw it as an opportunity for PCC to become more actively involved in instructional television. And I also saw it as an opportunity for the community to be able to have access to cable in a neutral setting, so to speak, not at Comcast. And I just felt that if it had been in such a setting as PCC, that they would be more acceptance to it in the community, and it would really be a community service. And I came out and talked with Dr. Clements, and with the purpose to interest him in it. And he not only became interested, he became enthused with the idea, and he took the idea and literally ran with it. And and thinking back, that's what's happened. And right there is your results of what happened, all the awards that you won, and this 10-year anniversary. And I'm very proud that I lit the match that started his fire.
Dr. Clemens, 10 years ago when Allie did approach you about the possibility, it was rather a big step for a community college to get involved in administering an access channel at that time, wasn't it?
Yes, I found out later we were the second institution to your college to assume this responsibility. But Allie made such an exciting proposal, and Ed Mount was so supportive of it that we thought we'd take a chance. Allie knows this, and of course Ed does, that another agency, public agency in the community, was asked to do this first, and they had the natural and obvious response to it, that a public institution, whether it be a college or some other agency, that it was kind of controversial back then. It was a new medium for us. None of us knew exactly what public access would mean and how it could be used. But it was just too good a deal, as Allie said, to pass up, and Comcast was so supportive. And answered some of the problems, and that was, of course, how were we going to finance it. They assisted us with color television, and it was our opportunity, as Allie knows. Allie installed our ITV system, black and white, back in '69. And we had just black and white monitors on campus, and probably could not conceive where would we get the funds to go color. So this gave us an opportunity to go color, and a laboratory for our students in our communications program. So it was a proposal or a proposition, I guess, that we thought we'd try, and it's been great for the last 10 years.
I know when I heard about it 10 years ago, it sounded very innovative and very exciting, and just recently when we hosted the Central States Regional Conference, we talked about management structures in access facilities, and some of them are operated through the cable company, some of them have an independent body that supervises the access function for the cable and for the city, and Paducah has a very unique organizational system for providing access to the people. When we first started 10 years ago, I'm trying now to see if you can anticipate the kind of growth that has taken place in 10 years. When you first originated the idea, is this what you had in mind?
Had no idea that it would really get this far, Bob. As we were talking a few moments ago before the start of the show, when we first got started, we bought several $1,000s worth of color equipment, installed it in the library building just across the way here, in a very small, I guess the entire operation wasn't half as large as this part of the studio right here. Will Ed Winfield was quite a character, and installed all this equipment and got it up and got it running, and
trained Rick Albee, who's still
trained. He certainly did. He was quite enthused with it, and you know, getting to this point, I don't think I don't know of any similar type setup in any cable operation anywhere in the United States where you have this type of cooperative effort between a community college and a cable operator. And that's the one reason that we wanted to get it off of the cable operator's premises. Historically, the success rate or the receptiveness by the public has been very poor when a cable operator provides a local public access facility and programming, and as well as the coordination of it. It just seemed like the cable operator didn't have that great an interest in it, and I felt like, and Allie felt like, that this is supposed to be community access programming, and if we're going to provide it, then we need to give it every opportunity to be successful.
Allie, what about you? 10 years ago, when you thought about getting the ball rolling and getting access provided, is this sort of what you had in mind?
No, honestly, I didn't have in mind this type of facility for access programming. However, I did envision a lot of things. Some of them has come about, some of them is still to come about, and I'm talking about instructional television, interactive capability, and this kind of thing. Some of those are still to come, but I did envision that. In a two-way cable system, it was possible then, and it's still possible today. But the difference between then, today, and tomorrow is that we do have interactive educational television or instructional television. And I see cable as playing a very important role in that in the near future. And yes, I did envision some things. I envision a lot of things, and sometimes the cable operators in the area have looked upon those things sometimes as too far visionary, but I did envision some of this, but not this facility. This is a great facility, and as a matter of fact, I don't think there was any way to envision this, because I don't know of another one like it in any community this size anywhere in the country. And to carry that a step farther, I don't even know of a facility like this in any city. There are commercial studios that, of course, are like this, and even better. There's some public broadcasting studios. But to have it as a cable access studio, I don't know of a facility that that excels more than this one does. And as I said before, and I hate to belabor the point, and I know you're going to get to it, but I think these awards
Well, that's
signify
the result of our 10 years of effort. Let me talk to another visionary. I do, Dr. Clement, think you are a man of vision. And 10 years ago, did you have in mind something like what we have and what we're doing with access here at PCC? It's hard,
you know, as we think back and think what we were doing back at that particular time, what resources we had. It's been pieces that have gone together into more like a puzzle. I envisioned a student center. That was one of our goals back in the late 60s and early 70s. And the Fine Arts Student Center TV bookstore complex came part of that puzzle. And you know, when we reflect on what was and what is and what can be, I think there are three ingredients that I've had to work with. One, of course, is the finances. And secondly is hiring an excellent staff. And I think reflecting to the awards, the staff are the ones that have won this and deserve this. And the third thing is support. And we spoke to Comcast to begin with. We had that, and we had, as you alluded to, a foundation in the extent of the Paducah Junior College Board of Trustees that could contract with Comcast. The University of Kentucky could not do this. So when we looked at the challenge, we looked at ways we could solve the challenge and put it all together. So I think if you have those three things, I've answered your question in terms of, I envisioned a student center with related activities. Our TV program became part of the studio, where the studio was built to house a program that a staff that was hired to do has perfected. So I think that one came first. The staff showed what they were. Before I leave that, Bob, one person that is with us today that I relied on quite often through the early days and still does, and I still do in the extent of our recent change in staff of our newspaper, and that is John Stewart. I think back in the early days, John was a person we could rely on to get us started. Willard was the engineer, but John worked with us and put guidelines together of how we're going to handle this public access, which was a hot potato in terms of medium to address common topics and do it on the air. And so John, I don't want to not mention to begin with, has always been very helpful and supportive and very creative.
And I think a lot of people really don't quite realize or appreciate the contribution that he makes in training of the students through his telecommunications program and encouraging them and scheduling them to do real-time television work to support the idea of access television.
Bob, that's the real payoff, and that's what really makes me feel good, is to be able to know that the students have, that this facility is set up for their use and their training, their education, and that they've been able to come through here and experience live television production and be thoroughly involved in it and actually see the fruits of their labor, because they actually get a response from the people that are watching.
See their work,
and they get very involved in that, and they use this training and education to go off and launch a career in television production, and that I guess that's the real payoff. That's what really makes us feel good about the whole thing.
Allie, are you aware of any other payoffs? I want to get around to some of the pluses, some of the advantages of the arrangement that Paducah and Comcast and PCC have initiated to make people aware of some of the benefits that this management structure is bringing to them.
Well, I think there's many benefits for the community, and I believe, thinking back on it, that is what impressed Dr. Clements at the time, that it did offer a real needed community service at that time, and still does. But I think I'm more inclined to agree with Ed in his term, the real payoff. I think that the real and long-lasting benefits are more than access. I know you probably will not totally agree with me on that. But here again, I come back to the assistance it gives the community in furthering the educational opportunities here. And I totally agree with Ed, and I would even go further and say not only the opportunities it gives your telecommunication students to have hands-on experience, and then if they want to go on to Murray, Western, UK, or wherever for further training in telecommunications. I think that with what you're doing now in offering television courses and what you've been doing for several years, I think that's part of the payoff, as Ed calls it. And I look forward to that even giving a bigger payoff. I have talked with Dr. Clements and Dr. Hennessy and many of you for years about interactive instructional television.
It's just around the corner. It's been just around the corner for several years.
The terminology that I used in the early days was transporting electronic classrooms, and to go beyond the two-year degree here, to have four-year degrees and this type of thing, where the money's not there to have necessarily to have the bricks and mortar and the personnel and all this kind of thing. We have the way to do that now through technology, and from what Dr. Clements told me before the broadcast, that's coming about now, and I see that we could get to the future for a moment, and I see that as really going to be the big payoff in the end.
I think you're right, but before we get to that, and Dr. Clements has been using a term recently, a college without walls, which is the same kind of thing that you're talking about. But before we really start looking to the future and gazing into our crystal balls again, I would like to know from Dr. Clements if other community colleges in the state of Kentucky are now beginning to realize perhaps advantages of trying to do what we are doing. Are you aware of any other communities that are beginning to explore the possibilities of community colleges and cable companies and the telecommunications to reach into the community and open up the walls of the college?
There hasn't been that much being done as we're doing in Paducah, but there are other colleges that have worked with their cable system, especially in eastern Kentucky. And these cable companies have been receiving, especially the teleconferences have been brought in that area and taking them in on their receiver, the satellite receiver, and then getting them out to the institution either by a portable device or maybe having a location within a building where they have the equipment to receive the teleconference. Nothing as much as we're doing now. Owensboro Community College, of course, is a new campus, and it is being designed and constructed with the head in, with the ability to have receive and receive distant learning programs, and then having it wired, the entire campus wired. So I think it's something in the future. We were fortunate to start with a makeshift, as we talked about back in the library, and then we were able to plan this facility here. And our new Allied Health building, by the way, will have two-way. We'll have every room, every classroom, and every conference room, with the exception at this time probably will be offices, will be wired for television. So this is something in construction of the present and the future. But no, not as much as we're doing, but they are working relationships with the cable companies on a limited type capacity in TV. Mm-hmm. Bob, before we look off into the future, I think we need to reflect maybe a few more moments. We've been trying to give credit to the people who were part of this program, because I think all of us know that it's not something one person or two or three people can do. It's a combination of a lot of support. And our success story with Comcast giving it the ability and with their consulting with the city at the cable industry, I think one of the finest consultants in the country, one of the most far-sighted with Allie Morgan. We had to have other people involved, and I mentioned the staff. I think also the cable authority, because when I first discussed this with Ed and Allie, I next met with the cable authority and said, will you support us, also financially? And they said yes. And then over the years, I think that the city administrations have been very helpful and very supportive. So I think that, Allie, you talked about it being a community project, and I think it truly is. So the Board of Trustees, for example, they assumed a responsibility that one other community college, and that was through a foundation in York, Pennsylvania, that was doing this back in 1979, was to assume a contract with Comcast. So the Board of Trustees, I think, deserve credit and accolades for being community-minded.
Ed, are you aware of any other organizations like this in the Comcast family and in Comcast's operation around the nation?
Not that I'm aware of as far as the arrangement, relationship with a community college. I understand that it's not with Comcast, but I believe in Murray they have some sort of an arrangement with them with Murray State. Is that some sort of access programming that they do with?
I think they do a local
Murray
news
State,
at
local
Murray
news.
State.
They have of course, you know, they have one of the regional studios, the regional studios at the regional university, and it's a very nice studio. Yes, and they have had an access channel, but I don't think that they do the same things that you do here with it. I don't know what their time on the air is, an example, but I don't think it's as extensive as this operation.
Most of it's campus-based, isn't it? Most of them have a studio which goes out on that campus. It's more of a closed circuit.
Murray State station.
Now,
which is a little bit different than
Murray State.
Our idea.
Murray State does have something that that I would like to mention here, that PCC has only recently required, and they've had for some time, and that is to go out into other communities via cable and microwave, and that is to Mayfield. They have the capability of going to the ATC franchise, and that was part of the franchise agreement. In the Murray franchise that they do that, and it was also part of the Mayfield franchise agreement. But now, as you well know, your Channel 2 is going throughout the Comcast system via microwave
The next state.
to not only the far reaches of McCracken County, to Livingston County, and to the state of Illinois. So you have that kind of reach now.
Mm-hmm.
And the technical capability you will have, I understand, to go out into the world.
Well, anticipating the technical capabilities and trying to anticipate the applications of some of those technical capabilities, if we can dare to touch on them in the last 5 or 6 minutes that we have, let us take some time just to blue sky, because the awards that we have on the table or hanging on our wall are for past achievements, and anytime you're going to achieve new things, you have to have new visions. Let's again start with Ed, with some of the technical things, and Allie, some of the technical things that may be accessible to us to employ for educational, instructional purposes in the next 5, 10, 15 years.
Steal my thunder, Ed. Go ahead.
He knows the 2 words I'm going to say. Well, the technical capabilities, future capabilities are really limitless. And one of the things that is going to contribute to that is fiber optics. And I'm sure that that's going to be feasible sometime down the road. It's going to open up a limitless field of opportunities for telecommunications, and not only here locally, but in other areas as well. As far as education, we talked about that at our advisory board meeting last week. Dr. Clemens told us about the plan that he has for interconnecting with other cities and other universities. And I'm sure someday the use of fiber optics will play a big part in that as well. So it's technically the sky is the limit, and then probably beyond that.
Allie, speaking of the sky, what about satellite delivery systems?
Well, Ed did touch upon what I can elaborate on more than your 6 minutes, and that's the age of fiber. And I'm definitely on a fiber kick, and I believe that you can't have too much fiber. It's good for your health. So I do envision a lot of things that fiber will allow, and I see that as the godsend, so to speak, in the telecommunication industry. It will allow so much more than we have with satellite, with coaxial, and with microwave, because of really the wide bandwidth, the amount, literally the amount that you can carry on the fiber, the amount of quantity of television or whatever that you can have on the cable, and the distances that you can push it without amplifying it.
We're down to about the last
Are
2
you?
minutes, and I'd like
Okay,
Dr. Clemens to have an opportunity to share his vision.
I think what we're looking forward to, that alluded to, we discussed the other day, was the need for offering junior and senior and graduate programs here. I think that's the challenge of the next 10 years. And we have as Ali had mentioned, the finest educational network in the country through KET. And I think that the future for us is to be able to utilize the equipment, the microwave towers, and be able to transmit television programming to Lexington. And it's conceivable with their uplink, their ability to send it up to the satellite, for us to send out from here and put up in the satellite and receive any place in the world. And I think this will become a reality. Again, we've got the staff this time, and I think we've got the support for this kind of program. We just need a little bit of the money, and I think that is one of the easiest things. The hardest thing is to get the support and the people. Money is not that difficult if you just keep looking for it. So next 10 years, I believe we'll be able to send from here to Lexington and from there around the world, and hopefully pick up programming from Western through KET, and also from Murray through KET.
Well, just speaking for myself and perhaps for the staff too, I think the time that we've spent working with this organization has been a pleasure. Our philosophy of access is cooperation and trying to provide services for as many voices as we can and to teach as many people as we can the wonderful world of television. And for all of you and other people in the community who've made this possible, thank you, and thank you for watching.